think about half done now, which is crazy. It's been so many great films. I obviously am running out of effective things to say for these intros, but I am back here in my winter chalet, and me and my colleague Sandy are gonna talk to some filmmakers. Say hi, Sandy.
Hi everyone, out in the interwebs. It's great to be getting in on this. My joint isn't as fancy as Devin's, but it'll do.
No, that's okay. It's the winter chalet in your heart.
All right. Yeah.
So really quickly, just to run through what we have offering today, we've got two programs. One is a collection of more like family-oriented shorts that includes several animations, documentaries, all kinds of things really. That includes Mimi Says No, Skinny and Fluffy, Dorian Coyne, Neds Story, The Audition, Picnic in the Park, Astronomical Imagination, Teddy Bear Rescue, and Furball. We talked to Jason from Furball yesterday. And then our second program is a feature and a short, sort of, I would say maybe in the more experimental mode of filmmaking, Lucis Naturae and Conejo. So we have several filmmakers across both of those programs today that we're super excited to talk to. And I'm going to let Sandy sort of kick things off by talking to some of the filmmakers from the family program. So Sandy, take it away.
Okay. I am going to talk to Luke Reardon first. Your film, Neds Story, I loved. And I have to say, I watched it yesterday with my 6-year-old. And she loved it. And I also watched it with my partner, who's a junior high school teacher, and he thought that he tipped his hat to you. And the first thing he wanted to know, so I made him do some of my work, but he wanted to know how old you are.
I'm 16.
You're 16. It's like very, very impressive. And
I was 15 when I made it. I'm 16 now.
So was that your first film?
I've always made videos for a very long time, but
Okay.
that was like, I've made bullying videos at our school the past 3 years for Pink Shirt Day.
Okay.
And I said this year, I was like, I could do better than the last couple of years. So I just kind of tried a little harder. And that's when I made the video.
Okay. So you did everything in it. Like when the credits rolled, it's you took every hat and put it on. And I guess I'm wondering, was there a favorite part of, like, do you have a favorite hat that you like to wear when making a film?
I love doing all of it, but I really, really enjoy doing the voices. That's always my favorite part. I like the drawing part, of course. I love drawing, but the voicing, that's always so much fun. And I don't like doing it when I'm by myself. I usually have a friend down when I'm recording. I mean, I recorded my audio on a camera and just put the audio into my editing program.
Okay. So in terms of the process, like that's a bit of the process for the sound, but like how about the rest of it? Where did you start? Like piece it together?
Like what did I use to make it?
Well, yeah, or did you do the voices like how did you start it? Like you had the idea first and then did you do the animation?
Last year I did an animation too, but it wasn't like it was, I guess I would call it a slideshow-ish looking thing. I also voiced over that one and animated it. But this year I wanted a different approach because last year I did how to not be bullied. But this year I decided maybe I'll do a story about a guy who is being bullied and how he deals with it. So that's where that came from.
Okay. So that's like, what inspired you to make it. It's been pretty constant theme.
I thought the easiest thing to do would be to have a big body part of some sort. But I'm like, the nose is the easiest thing to see, so I'll use that.
My daughter's starting school this year, and it alleviated some of my anxiety. So on a personal note, thank you for that.
You're welcome then.
Thank you. Okay, so you're 16. The Nickel is like very much into encouraging all, just people to make stuff. And a big part of that is encouraging young people to make films and to just get out there and feel like they can do it. You have clearly done that. And I guess I'm wondering what advice you would give to aspiring filmmakers that are a similar age or younger, or just, everyone, but you're young. So I want to know how you did it yourself and how you encourage other folks.
Well, I'm not really sure what kind of advice but I can give, but I can definitely say that if you want to make something, you just try it. And if you don't like it, then do something else. But if you're having fun with it, just keep going at it. And
All right.
that's what I did.
All right. That is solid life advice from you, Luke. Thank you. And I mean, I'm just going to ask you one last one, and because we're keeping these kind of short, but I want to know what your favorite movie is.
Ooh, my favorite movie. Well, during quarantine, we watched all the Star Wars movies, Harry Potter, but my favorite series we watched through was the recent Planet of the Apes movies.
Really?
I think that the first one in particular might be my favorite.
All right, good to know. I'm looking for stuff to watch. And one last thing. Do you have anything in the works? Like, do you have another project coming up, or what are you working on?
Well, I also during quarantine online, roughly 300 or so people are joining this collab where they take a scene from the original SpongeBob movie from like 2003, and you're assigned a scene if you're chosen to reanimate in your own style that 7 or 8 seconds of the movie, and then you send it back to them, and they are gonna do voice acting, and they're gonna revoice it, redo music so that there's no copyright or anything. Yeah. And I was interested, and I was like, well, I'll try. I didn't think I would get picked, but I did. And they loved my scene. The scene I had was a part where the character got his crown back near the end of the movie, and when he went to go kiss it, I said, well, it'd be funnier if he ate it, and the kissing noises was him licking his fingers. So I did that instead, and they all really, really liked it.
Nice. The Nickel is actually doing something similar with a film called Plan 9, I think it's called, Devin. Yeah?
Yes. More details on that forthcoming. I don't want to take that away from Ellen, who's very excited about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, there's more details to come because it's a super cool idea. So thanks
top
for
secret,
but it's except for the internet. Okay. All right.
I'm totally good.
Thank you very much, Luke.
You're welcome.
Keep up the films because it was great, really endearing, and really wonderful.
They're really fun to make. It's a long process, but I love doing it.
It looked like a lot of fun. So thank you, and for submitting it to the Nickel.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right, I'm going to move along to. We have the films Picnic in the Park and Skinny and Fluffy. So we have Jonathan Klett and Max Grigori.
I'm also just going to say real quick. Oh, sorry, Sandy, didn't mean to cut you off. Just want to say real quick, anyone watching on Facebook, if they have a question in the chat, I'm keeping an eye on it. So if you have anything you want to ask, just type it in. I'll relay it. That's all. Continue. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And then we have also Alexander Boden-Safir from the production company, Breaking Productions. So I am wondering, first off, if Alexander, if you can just give me a little bit of background on what the project is, like on not so much the production company, but just how the idea came about and what it is.
Sure. I mean, I started off, for the last 6 years, I've been author in residence at Great Ormond Street Hospital, which is a children's hospital and just happens to be my local hospital. And started off with me going in and working with the kids in a workshop context in the schoolroom. So we would be demystifying the storytelling process once a week for just 45 minutes. And pretty consistently would start off the session with, anything from 5 to 12-year-old kids asking the children if storytelling and writing stories was difficult. And unanimously, the answer would be, yes, it's very, very difficult, almost impossible. And then after 45 minutes, it became very clear to them that it wasn't nearly as difficult as they first thought. So that was wonderful. We did that for a few years, every week. And then I was invited to go and work with the kids who were too sick to come down to the schoolroom up in the wards, and I would work with them one-on-one. And in those sessions, I would work with them on their own stories. So they would come to me with a story they wanted to tell, and over the course of weeks and sometimes months, and in a couple of cases years, we would create a story. And that was wonderful. But one of the things that came out of it was that all the great work that had been done on those stories and all the confidence that had been built up in these kids during the session, next week that I came to see them, it kind of had dissipated slightly. And the question was, how do we maintain this confidence in creativity throughout the week? And after, you know, I'm no longer there and they're no longer at Gosh. And we hit upon this idea of taking some of these stories and turning them into short little animations, so that whenever they were feeling a little bit down or a little bit low in confidence, they could click a button, see their names up in lights, know that they had created something, being the impetus for a whole team to create something. I mean, what bigger confidence boost could it be to have your words narrated by Sir Ian McKellen or Dame Julie Walters? I mean, it was just, it was amazing for them. So that was the impetus. It started very small in the hospital schoolroom, and ended up in a sound booth with Sir Ian doing voiceovers. Amazing journey.
It was incredible. Yeah, yeah. I was watching Picnic in the Park with just watching it by myself anyways, and I knew before I knew any of the background of your work that it is a child that wrote this, and they were about this age, because I have a 6-year-old, and it was just like, yes, of course there needs to be a TV at the park, you know. So but I guess I'm wondering, like, I'm constantly like, it's a challenge to try to get my head around as a grown-up around their thoughts, and they're so different. So I guess, like, I can't imagine adapting a child's story. Like, how do you what are some of the challenges, I guess, from like taking an adult brain to a child's brain, which is just so and basically collaborating? Like, are there any, and what are they?
Well, I mean, Jonathan and Max can talk about the process of actually taking the story and turning it into a vision, a written story, and turning it into a visual narrative. Right. But from my perspective, just working with the kids, I tried to be as hands-off as possible. I didn't want to. I mean, you can tell that these stories are written by children, and that's part of their charm. But of course, you know, you have to create some kind of structure. I have a way of, you know, working with these kids in structure, and it seems to speak very easily to their brains. Maybe that's just the way my brain works. But no, we try to maintain as much as possible of the real anarchic nature of some of these creative geniuses, and I think that's part of what I have gotten so much out of working with kids, is that the remembering of what it's like to not censor yourself, the remembering of what it's like to be at that font of creativity and not second guessing yourself. I can say in all honesty that I've gotten much more out of working with these kids than they got out of working with me. And it's truly inspirational working with some of these children, especially given the context that they're in. These aren't normal kids. I mean, they are normal kids, but these are kids with added burdens, added issues, health issues, and to see their productivity and their creativity shining through, even though that they have their own issues, is truly phenomenal. So look, my job was very easy. My job was to go and play with ideas with these kids, and throw a whole bunch of stuff on a wall and see what sticks. Very easy, really.
Yeah, that sounds like it can only be fun. Like, you know, but maybe, like, Jonathan and Max, maybe you can speak to, like, do the kids have, like, what some of those challenges might be in taking a vision from a kid who thinks differently, and kind of putting that onto a screen, realizing it visually. And also, I guess I'm wondering, like, do the kids have ideas about what they want their stories to look like as a visual piece?
So, I mean, we were given, after sort of speaking to Ali about it and looking at all the ideas the kids had come up with, there was to some extent an idea of it kind of shone through the story itself, but you have to find it. And I think exactly what you were kind of saying, how do you get into that mindset, was a big part of our process, where at first we started designing characters and naturally sort of doing a lot of computer animation and stuff. The characters come out very crisp and vectory and sort of solid shapes, solid colors, and they kind of lacked a bit of character and personality, and certainly they may have screamed that they were for kids, but not necessarily by kids. And I think that was kind of the journey which we went on, trying to make it more and more arts and crafty. And we started going back into the idea of what was it like when we were at school in the classroom. We weren't making, okay, it was a slightly different time technologically, but we weren't making crisp, colored in the lines, vector characters. We were cutting things out and we were sticking them on the page and finding lollipop sticks and getting all the arts and crafts involved. And we went through a bit of a process through watercolor and painting. And finally, when we arrived at this kind of just open a drawer, empty the recycling bin, pick something up, cut it up and stick it on the page, it was like a sort of a deja vu again. I was like, I'm having flashbacks to being in the classroom in this creative process. And once we found that platform, that medium to express the story, it kind of all fit together, and you just feel the energy of it start to flow through this medium. And it was very clear very quickly when we got to that medium, even though it took a while to get there, that this was how it needs to be expressed.
Was there, I mean, how was this different, this process different than other projects you've worked on, or was it different?
I mean, it definitely was. Usually I feel like when we work on projects, we have, perhaps without realizing it, we have some idea of where visually it's going to end up before we start, and that kind of steers the direction we're going in. Whereas this was kind of an opportunity to just completely throw out the rule book and do an animation like nothing like we'd done before, so that we did justice to these kids' stories. And one of the main differences was that when we got the story, you know, there were holes in it. It wasn't necessarily complete. So we had to kind of put ourselves in their mind and try and tell their story, you know, kind of finish it, but in the way they, you know, true to the story they wanted to tell. And it was good fun, you know.
Wonderful. And obviously, like, what was it like to have Sir Ian McKellen voice, like, bring those characters to life?
Amazing.
Did he do it before? Like, how did that work? How was the process? Like,
no, he did it afterwards, which was a lovely relief for me, because my voice was the placeholder. So I was listening to my own voice on track repeat all day, every day.
Doing an impression of.
Attempting to do a sort of impression of, to try and emulate the vibe, but I didn't do a very good job. And when we finally had Sir Ian's voice in there, it went from this sort of grating, is that really what I sound like? And I have to listen to it every day, to one of the nicest voices that I've ever heard. And it was yeah, it was like ointment in my ears. It was lovely. So that was, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet him and to work with him. An incredibly exciting experience to have someone of that gravity and magnitude on something that you've been working on as well.
That's wonderful. What is I want everyone's favorite movies, and then we'll move on to the next, but I gotta know.
That's a tough one. Should have thought.
I can jump in quickly while you guys are thinking of yours. Animation-wise, probably at the moment, Inside Out.
That's a good one.
Big fan of that. I mean, just for the bringing of the mental health aspect to a children's movie, and also just using cinema as a social and educational tool. I thought it was just stunning and just a fantastic story. So from an animation point of view, that's definitely my favorite one. What about you guys?
From an animation perspective, I mean, I'm going to go to very extreme examples here. From an animation perspective, I would say The Jungle Book.
That's what I was thinking. It's got to be Jungle Book, classics. Yeah.
That might perhaps have more to do with my desire to be Mowgli than the actual animation itself. But then I also rewatched The Shawshank Redemption recently, and it's a very, very different vibe. But that's a very good film.
Oh, it would be interesting to go back and watch that. That's been a long time. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and I've loved both of the films, and I think that's what a wonderful organization. So, yeah.
I'm gonna quickly point out that Alexander, along with the 2 films today from Alexander's company, we also have another film on our final day called The Meteor and the Moon that's playing with a program on our last day next Friday. So keep an eye out for that as well.
That's really good. You should watch that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah. Thanks for all your great work. This is beautiful.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for inviting us, both for the screenings, but also for the Q&A. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Okay. Cheers. I'm going to move along to Astronomical Imagination with Stephanie Leet. Stephanie, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Hi. I want to know how this story came about. Was it something you were working on for a while, or where did this idea come from?
Well, no. I actually did this in school last year, and it was one of the writing students who, I don't want to tell her story for her, but I think one day she was just driving home, and then all of a sudden she just had this idea, and she started writing it in writing class. And when it got to the point where directors and producers had to pitch, her script was kind of the one that we pitched and like we found kind of some attachment to, and felt like it was like a very interesting but kind of powerful story at the same time.
So, like, it's an interesting story though. How did you know what aspect of the story you wanted to tell? Because, like, is it more of Atticus's story, or is it more of his father's story?
That was something we kind of went back and forth about. In the end, I think it's Atticus's story. He's kind of like a flat arc character who, by his kind of own merit, changes his dad. Spoilers, kind of, maybe. Okay. Just by, his own determination and the fact that, they kind of parallel in the challenges they're facing. But rather than recoiling, Atticus is like, no, I'm going to do it. And, kind of calls his dad out on it.
Yeah, he's so open-hearted, and it's really beautiful. But there's a lot of between Atticus and his father, there's actually quite a few things happening in the movie. There's some complex storylines there, and I guess I'm wondering, were there challenges to just trying to tell multiple and kind of complex stories in under 10 minutes? Did that short form format, what were some challenges with just how much the story was about?
There definitely were some challenges. I think the main thing that I was trying to bring out was I think everyone kind of has a difficult relationship to some degree with their parents. There's always going to be some issues. And for Atticus, it's he really just wants his dad to believe in him. And his dad very much doesn't believe in himself. So he's like, why would I believe in you? We're basically the same, which is really sad. Think about it. But that was, I think, probably the main thing I was kind of focusing on, and how just the parallels between the two characters and your mindset, the way your mindset can change, your path and the kind of life that you're living.
Did it, was it easier in any ways to keep it into that short form, that short film format?
I guess in a way. I mean, frankly, we kind of had to because it was for school, right?
Right.
But
right.
I guess just because that short format was always in mind, it was, it was just kind of choosing what we wanted to focus on.
Right.
I'm sure the movie could, if you added a few more elements, be expanded to a feature, or even it could be longer, but for what we were trying to tell and the focus, I think 10 minutes was enough.
Yeah. Do you have any upcoming projects you're working on that we should all know about?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I was right before we kind of got quarantined. I was just about to shoot another like short 12-minute film. And then obviously everything got shut down.
Right.
And now I'm kind of realizing that how that film was going to be is not something we can shoot with the new guidelines we're all put under. So I'm now working on other shorts that are more reasonable.
Okay.
Hopefully shoot sometime in the fall. We'll see.
Cool. We'll keep an eye out for them and obviously submit them to the Nickel for next year.
Of course.
And what is your favorite movie?
So you were asking the other people, so I've been thinking.
Yes. All right.
I mean, my first instinct is like kind of like a comfort film, and what everyone probably thinks is The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Just because like Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway are like up there for me.
Nice. I've never
as
seen
far
it.
as like a series though, you've never seen it?
I haven't. I'm gonna go watch it though. That's why I'm asking you.
Watch it.
I'm gonna.
Otherwise, probably like the Star Wars series. I mean, this film has some inspiration from Star Wars in some of the shots. So
Yeah. All right, awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. And Devin, do you want to jump in with anything? Oh,
I was muted. Sorry. No, I actually think I'm good though.
you're good this time.
Yeah, I'm good this time. Sorry. Thanks.
That's okay. That's okay. So thank you again, and we're gonna move on to Dorian Coyne by Stephen Bunnell.
Hi, yes.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, fine, thank you. And thanks for the invite today. I have an opportunity to talk about Dorian Coyne. So there is history behind the film. I had 3 years ago, a friend of mine, Horatio, wrote a play regarding my great-grandfather's life as a boat builder in southern Newfoundland, on the south coast of Newfoundland. And I had it in the back of my mind for maybe a year or so. Could turn this into a short film. Spoke to Horatio about it, and he was totally on board with the idea. I think it wasn't until maybe probably a year and a half ago, the model Dory in the film, the little yellow Dory, my grandfather gave that to me when I was 10 years old, and it's the same dimensions, obviously different scale, based on the original Grandee Dory. So it was in rough shape, so I started to restore the model Dory about a year and a half ago, and then it came to me, I should try to do something with this, do animation or tell the story about my great-grandfather's legacy, his boat building, and also the connection to the Canadian 25-cent piece from 1992. So it just went from there. It was only about a year ago, actually, I know, I started shooting it, working on some of the animation sequences and shooting live action footage. So it's hard to believe how time has gone, and we're living in a different time now, of course, with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm very pleased that to have it completed, and I'm very, very grateful too that it's chosen to be shown during the Nichols programming.
So, I mean, this is it's kind of a two-part question, but I'm not from Newfoundland, and I've been there for about a decade, but I often, I spend a lot of time thinking, just what it means to be from a particular place, and this particular place especially. And I guess I'm wondering, how much the film, it's about your great-grandfather and your family, obviously, but how much is it about this place, and what do you think it means to be from this place?
Well, I think it represents a part of Newfoundland heritage, or in 1992, the Canadian Mint, the federal government, had a thing on a contest, basically, that each province should submit a design to represent each province's, what this identifies each province on a 25-cent piece. So there are a lot of submissions for each province, had various submissions. So for Newfoundland, there was a freelance artist, Christopher Newhook, actually was working on design, and there are a lot of designs put forward, but he was thinking of the Grandee Dory. And that was design that was ultimately chosen to be represented on the coin. So I guess nationally it represents, it puts part of Newfoundland's history prior to Confederation and even after Confederation. Promotes our history maybe nationally. So I think that in itself was the story worth exploring. And I mean, it could have been anybody's family, really. I mean, it just so happened to be that was my great grandfather. But any story about could have any other boat builders. So I don't know if I want to go into like the dory design. They were designed for the banking schooners along the South Coast fisheries. So he made many of those dories with his sons until his death in 1960. And they were a unique design because they were easily stackable on the bank on the decks of the schooners, and they also made great lifeboats as well to seaworthy vessels. So,
right. You shot the film in 60 millimeter, correct?
There's a mixture of Super 8 and 16 millimeter. I tried to make this much of a hands-on experience as possible, the analog way. Half the film I hand processed myself. Super 8, I done my own hand processing. Some of the other sequences, obviously, with color negative film, I couldn't do that, so I sent that off to Niagara Custom Lab in Toronto, and where all the film had to be scanned, obviously, into ProRes before I can do. Film was finished digitally, obviously, but there's one particular in the beginning of the film that shows the young boy. Actually, that's my nephew Max. I tried to represent that imagery like when I was his age. Right about the same time, I used to play with model boats in that same area, and I try to opening scene is a way of trying to connect to my youth from a distant memory, or basically for home movies. You're watching these home movies my father has when I was a young boy, of me growing up playing with model boats and airplanes and that thing. And at the end of the film, so I purposely, at the beginning of the film, I know it's in black and white, but I purposely decided to expose like the sprocket hole in the frame of the Super 8 to show that it is a home movie. And that when the film draws to a close in the end, there's a full frame of that, which I think I'm trying to express how this whole project, this story about Dorian Coyne, has brought me closer to my family's history and to the whole story, and also about in regard to our history in Newfoundland, Labrador, with boat building and everything. So it's been a fun project to work on. It's also been a great learning experience.
So the film, or sorry, not the film, but the Grandy Dory is clearly this is your grandfather's legacy. What do you want people to come away with after watching your film?
Well, I guess it's about choices we make in life. I think actually it's my great grandfather.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what I know. It's great grandfather Stephen Leonard Grandy. Now he died before I was born. I think I'm trying it's about struggle. It's about following your ambitions. When you want to embark on a career, sometimes we have to make difficult choices. And I think the story with my great grandfather, he had a choice. He could have been a fisherman. He could have remained in Garnish all of his life, but there was something, he always had a calling regarding to contribute something to Newfoundland's greater industry, be it shipbuilding, and to follow your career path. And he's made the scene there whereby, he leaves a woman behind who he loved to pursue a career at another location. So I think maybe a lot of people face those choices in life. People are on the same path, and they end up going on separate paths in life. Follow ambition or career.
Yeah, interesting. It's a story about one family in our province, but those are universal themes for sure. So, before I let you go, what is your favorite movie?
I had a lot of favorite movies. I think recently, I would say not too long ago, I saw, I think Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has to be my most recent. I like that one a lot. It's interesting. They say it's his love letter to Hollywood, It's got mixed reviews. I think great performances by Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie. And I think it's like a mosaic of what life was back then, the whole scene in Hollywood before the transition or into the new Hollywood. I also recently watched a Newfoundland, I think, Canadian production, Love and Savagery, starring Alan Hocko. I think it was from 2009. It's very nice.
Cool. All right. I'll add Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to my list.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Devin, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll take it away.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Sandy, for chatting with our
Thank you.
filmmakers in our first program.
No, thanks for asking me.
Hey, no problem. You're welcome. I don't know. Next, though, I'm gonna talk a little bit to Carla Forte. Is it Forte or Forte?
Forte. Yeah.
Forte. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure. Carla Forte, the director of Conejo. We also had Alexi, there he is, who's the producer and cinematographer for Conejo as well.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I gotta say, I really love your film. I'm really excited to chat to you about it. I feel like maybe you guys would do a better job of summing up a little bit about what Conejo, which translates to rabbit, by the way, in English, is about. Well, like what's it about? What's going on?
Yeah. Well, Conejo means rabbit, and it's about the encounter of an actress and theater director trying to create something new, and they start having problems. They start immersing in an imaginary world, and also it's about when the director takes advance into the over the actress or their people, and you can feel the power, no? But at the same time, how this person as an actress or in different situations in life, you also accept to be part of, no? Yeah. It's a responsibility also, no?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, thank you. I want to say thank you so much for having us. We are so excited.
Yes, we are very happy. Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you guys. Yeah, it's this strange, oftentimes very funny film about the like you said, like the performativity within power and how that like exchange. I don't know. There's just there's so much going on. Like I recommend people watch it like twice if you can, because it is it's really great. Carla, you come from a dance background, yes?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about if that background informed the making of this film in any way?
Yes, for sure. My background is physical theater and dance. So I always try to mix the disciplines, because for me it's so important. I can detach, and I jump into film in a different way. I try to create all these theatrical theater world and dancing world into film, and also mixing with the stories. For example, Conejo, I remember when I met with my producer that she's also actress. She's she's Conejo. We were talking.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yes. We were talking about the theme and what do you want to do for your next film, Carla? And I said to her, okay, I want to talk about this, but Malena, I really don't want to write for this film a script. Make strong notes.
Oh, sorry.
So the film is 70% improvised. So
that was okay. That's
without
great.
script.
Yeah, that was my next question about kind of the production of it. And Alexi, maybe you can speak a little bit to this too. Yeah, what was? I was actually very curious to know how much was scripted versus improvised. yeah, if you could talk a little bit about what being on set for the film looked like what was, what the creative process looked like.
Yeah, well, Carla, she always she has like a dogma. So we always try to make the film with only with a few people, so only the people that we need. We were like a crew of 10 people, and this, I think, this is the biggest crew that we never have. No, so we shot this movie in Cuba. We shot this movie in 6 days.
In 9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
9 days. And it was amazing because Carla also, she worked like, she liked to have like this kind of artistic residence. So we start like rehearsals in Cuba, in Havana, Cuba, like.
Yeah, we spent like 10 days doing an artistic residence for the participants. So we start meeting, having meetings, talking about the movie, about the scenes. Okay, so let's go to the location. I start here. I'm feeling, whatever you want to feel. So let's talk about it. No, what's the first idea? And also for me, was super important. Go out to the, meet everybody in a different country, because it's the way that you can also be. Well, for me it works.
Yes.
You can be immersed and focus 24 hours in your project, no? So at the end, so now where do you want to go? Okay, let's go to eat, and let's go to eat together. So the crew and the cast always, together, spending, time. But I'm sorry, Alex,
no,
but the connection between I came from theater background, and when I decided to make this improvised, it's because in my background I have been working under improvisation from long time ago. So for me, it's no difficult to jump in this kind of environment. We also spent then 9 days shooting the film and 1 day off. but it was funny because we just spent per day like 10 hours.
Yes.
I am very responsible with that specific point on matter, because I feel like we have to respect the space for everybody, and if we will work on 9 days, it's gonna be hard. So let's try to be. We try always to be very organized in what we want to do.
That's something I'm so interested in. I do some filmmaking as well, and the infrastructure, the of how films are made are so often, even on independent levels, could be on the verge of exploitative.
Yes.
But so to have those limits in place, it's very interesting. It's very different, perhaps, from the character of the director in your film, who maybe doesn't have those same sort of considerations. I'm curious about the director character. Maybe this is too heady or weird of a question, but what's it like directing a director character? Like, what are you kind of learning from that? Is there a weird symbiosis? I don't know. Is that weird?
It's important to see
to
talk about the.
Yes. So okay. The inspiration for the the way they jump into this theater experience was inspired by play theater, a playwriter, my brother.
Okay.
My brother Vicente Fortes, she's a writer too. So we invite this his name is Francisco Denis, and Francisco is also theater director. So for him, was very it was not difficult to jump as a director into the film, because he is a director in the reality, also an actor. So yes, it was super tricky. We spent a long time talking about the experience of everybody, because I like to talk with the people that I'm working with, and also keep the most important moments of their life and how we transform this in our film. So Francisco bring to us a lot of possibilities, and also during the script, I described some moments that I didn't explain, to each other. So for them was a surprise doing the scene. Maybe the director knew about that moment, but maybe she doesn't, and sometimes she knows about it and he doesn't. So it was a surprise everywhere for me too, and what else? Yes, the most in my experience as a director, was the most creative project in my career. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it really is a truly remarkable work. We're just a couple more questions. We'll wrap up in a second. I just want to go back to Alexi real quick. As cinematographer, with this improvisation going on and these surprises, how what's your role? Are you kind of just like following wherever you can? Are you like, is it organic reaction? How much planning are you doing?
Yeah, it was an organic reaction, and also I'm not a cinematographer. I came from the dance field too. I am choreographer, and I graduated from the National School of Ballet in Cuba. So I came from the ballet dance. So in this film, we have a lot of also choreographies inside. There are a lot of dance. So it was like a kind of choreography, and it was very, very organic for me to work with them. We work only with natural light. We don't use in this film any artificial lights. So it was very hard, but at the same time, it was very controlled. I don't know, the technical aspect. We were only one sound guy. It was me, the focus puller, and that's it. So it was very, it was a very creative process, because you are always creating something new, because you don't know how they will react to some situation. So it was very interesting for me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's I gotta say, a really special film. Thank you guys so much for talking to us about it today. I also just loved hearing about processes like this. So I'm actually like nerding out. I'm like, oh, this sounds so great. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we clue up?
Not really. I don't know.
Great, no problem.
No.
Stay safe, please.
Stay safe.
Yes,
yeah.
Of course. I suppose I'll follow Sandy's lead and ask you both what your favorite films are.
My favorite. Well, I have. But my favorite is Belatar, the director Belatar, and the film is The Turing Horse.
The Turing Horse.
The Turing Horse. Come on, you gotta give respect to the Turing Horse. I was just the other day showing someone the opening shot of the Turing Horse, and I was like, this is what movies can be, and they were like, what? Alexi, what about you? Also the Turing Horse?
The same. We are like in the same. Yes, in the same way.
Great. Well, thank you so much. A delight talking to you both. I cannot implore people enough to go check out this film. It's available all day today until 12 a.m. Newfoundland time for free. It is a really special film. I really think people should go check it out. And we didn't talk to the director, but Lucis Nature, the short music video that's playing along with it, also a great short. And I'm so happy that we're showing this work. So thank you both. Thanks all of the filmmakers today. I think this is obviously I love every day. I love every day of the festival, but this is a really, really great day of programming. So I really encourage people to go check everything out. Before we sign off, Sandy, what's your favorite movie?
Oh.
The tables have turned.
Oh, dun dun dun. Oh gosh. Well, I'm a fan of Louise Brooks, so I mean, I don't know, The Lost Girl. I don't know, but then I could pick. I kind of love The Wizard of Oz, actually.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Wizard
Yeah,
of Oz?
I think I'm gonna
Nothing.
stay with Wizard of Oz.
Well, don't watch those movies today. Wait till the next week to watch all of these films: Shawshank Redemption, Turin Horse, Wizard of Oz. This week, it's The Nickel. It's what you're watching. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more filmmaker interviews. Oh, a quick note. I don't know if this actually matters, but a quick note. Tomorrow, our live stream will be on YouTube, not on Facebook. So keep an eye out for a link to that. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
bye.
Have a great day.